Ancient History of Siren Head, Report 1. Siren Head, a monster without remorse, kindness, or empathy for life. Many times, it and its various spawns have caused untold havoc, death, and destruction to those unfortunate to encounter them. For the most part, siren heads are reactive. They don't actively go hunting for victims, but will gleefully torment any who stumble across their resting areas. The exception being the multi-head siren head, one of the few that travels. But this report is about one of the earlier known reports about Siren Head, one that travelled around and spread its infamy. Similar to Longhorse, its mortal enemy, Siren Head has a recorded encounter as early as the colonial times. Unlike Longhorse, the man who came across Siren Head lived the rest of his life in agony, however short it was. This story follows a young colonist, Campbell. Campbell was a bit of a quick talker. It got him into trouble more often than not, which was why he came to the New World, to make it big and leave his mark on the world. But just because he changed locations didn't mean he changed his behavior. He was still running his usual scams and living as a con artist. Mainly, his favorite thing to do was to sell fake medicines to people. A snake oil salesman whose behavior is still getting him ran out of towns, often at gunpoint. One day, Campbell was resting at a bar in a town who hasn't grown tired of his activities yet. He was nursing a drink when he overheard a couple of fur traders. They were talking about the local tribe, warning them to avoid a cave system. The elders had told the hunters that something evil was sealed there, that anyone who walked in the caves risked not coming out. The warning was serious enough that it spooked the fur traders. In their discussion at the bar, they decided to listen. Plus, they wanted to keep a good relationship with the tribe. The eavesdropping Campbell thought otherwise. He somehow came to the thought that the tribe was hiding something like treasure in that cave system and was warning away people with warnings. So, figuring he knew better, Campbell came up with a plan. He got the two fur traders drunk and got really friendly with them. He paid for the drinks with the money he sneaked away from their purses when they weren't noticing. When the two were too drunk to notice what he was doing, Campbell was able to get directions to the tribe and a map to the surrounding area. Leaving the two to their hangover and an unfortunate bill, Campbell packed up his stuff at the inn he was staying at and quickly left town. Campbell's thoughts were full of greed, and he figured that, like the others he conned out of their money, a couple of uneducated natives would be easy to mess with. It took Campbell a lot longer than he expected to find the tribe. The drunken directions of the fur traders and the map he stole wasn't the most accurate. Plus, being in a hurry to find the village, he didn't pack nowhere near enough provisions and supplies. Campbell was very much used to living in towns and not as used to hunting or fending for himself. So it was a very much half-starved, dirty man that eventually stumbled into the village. It took several weeks for the tribe's healers to treat the weakened man. His lack of nutrition and exposure to the elements nearly took his life. During that time, half aware of everything around him, Campbell observed the kindness they afforded him. Those things he saw made Campbell think of the people he hurt in the past, of the relationships he's destroyed. It made him think of a tiny farm across the ocean. He remembered a kind voice singing to him during cold nights. Honestly, it was a chance to change himself for the better, to step off the path he was currently sprinting down. But people are foolish and change is hard. Campbell regained his health a week later. He lied about how he got sick to the healers who helped him and told them even more tales about why he was there in the first place. Using his skills as a con man, he was able to get supplies and a more accurate map of the local area. Similar to the fur traders, he had gotten drunk. The elders had warned him away from the nearby cave system, but not because of any evils. The elder warned Campbell that there were some dangerous bears that made the caves their home. Because Campbell was a stranger and usually people will listen to warnings about bears. Not Campbell though. He had a moment where he crowed in success in his head. Outwardly, he thanks the tribe for their kindness, and as soon as daylight broke, he left the village. With the more accurate map and directions, it didn't take him long to find the cave that he was warned about. Looking around, he didn't find any proof that anything lived there. No claw marks or animal markings. Even to someone of limited survival skills that Campbell had, the area felt abandoned of any life. As he walked into the cave, he noticed it was cold, much colder than expected. It was also darker as well. Even the torch he set aflame didn't really let him see much into the darkness. He did see all over the walls images and words he didn't understand, painted humans fighting much larger inhuman-looking figure. There was a buzzing in his head, and as he went deeper and deeper into the cave, it was getting louder. The buzzer in his head was almost getting painful. Campbell first thought that maybe he was in the wrong place, that he shouldn't be there. Ready to give up, he turned around, but the pathway behind him had changed. He stumbled back the way he came, but no matter how much he walked, he felt himself going deeper into the cave. At one point the buzzing had shifted in his head as he began to hear whispers. The voices were unknown at first, but he traveled deeper into the cave with his flickering torch. The voices became more familiar. They were the people he hurt in the past, those whom he took advantage of to take their valuables. They asked Campbell why he had hurt them. Why did he lie to them? He felt wetness run down his jaw, and feeling his face, Campbell's nose was bleeding. Wiping the blood off with a sleeve, the lost man kept going, resolute in ignoring the voices that were getting louder and louder, to the point where they were screaming. Having them suddenly vanish from his head, along with the pressure in his skull, almost made Campbell fall in relief. That was why he almost started sobbing when a family voice started singing in his head. It wasn't loud, and it wasn't accompanied by pain of any sort, but it still made his heart hurt. Regardless, the man kept moving forward, knowing that if he stopped or answered the voice singing to him, he wouldn't move again. Campbell found himself in a circular room. It was wet, and bones of every type decorated the floor. In the center of the room, pinned by what seemed to be the large lower jaw of some animal, was a creature. Its flesh was leathery and looked like rotted flesh, and it didn't have a head, but many of the things he remembered seeing attached to the gramophone he saw as a boy. It was constantly moving, trying to escape the teeth that nailed it to the floor, but something strange about the large jawbone kept it pinned. Campbell took a step back in horror, and the creature stilled. Doing its best, it turned its horn-like head to him. The singer turned to begging. His mother was begging him to help her. Campbell noticed his nose was bleeding again, and he sort of forgot where he was. Right, his mom needed his help with something. What was it again? Right, he needs to help her get free. Campbell stumbled forward and tripped over the bones of a bear. His arms got scratched up, but he got up again. Right, he had to help his mother, otherwise he couldn't hear her sing. His head really hurt, and it felt that something along with the begging was ringing in his skull. Campbell got to the large jawbone, and unaware of what he was doing, he braced his shoulders and lifted the jawbone up. It was lighter than paper and lifted easily, even if he stabbed himself on the teeth while lifting it. His mother thanked him and crawled from under the bone. She looked at him in consideration, but then shouts in the distance made it run into one of the openings of the caves. Soon she was gone, and so was the singing. The tribe's elder and pack of warriors got to the center of the cave to find Campbell half mad, asking his mother to sing to him while holding the large jawbone of Longhorse. His hands, arms, and face a bloody mess from the injuries he took. The creature it had sealed in that cave was long gone. Campbell never fully recovered and spent the rest of his life at the tribe. Sometimes he would be lucid enough to share what happened in the cave, but most of the time he asked whoever was around to sing to him. That was how Siren Head escaped his most secure prison. There's more to this story, but that's for another report.